So here we are at Stonehenge.
It's the autumn equinox. Yes. When I was in Bath Uni, we used to come down here, and all it was a little lay-by on the main road there. We just walk along the fields, there was a muddy path along the fields, there was no fences, you could go inside the stone circle, and there was nothing to stop you. It was just like a lot of the other monuments, you could just go in there and wander around, and there was hardly anybody ever there. When we used to come, I don't think I ever met anybody else.
Stonehenge is celebrated for being aligned on the midsummer sunrise, which attracts thousands of people on the longest day of the year. But more important to prehistoric people may have been the midwinter sunset. If you were to stand in the centre of the monument and look towards the avenue, the sun rises just to the left of the heelstone. When other stones were standing in the entrance, it may have given the impression of a corridor along which the sunlight would have shone into the centre of the monument. The midwinter sunset is directly opposite the midsummer sunrise. Viewed from the centre, the midwinter sun would have set between the two upright stones of the tallest Sarsen trilithon. We know that people were feasting at midwinter at nearby Durrington Walls, so perhaps the midwinter ceremonies took place here too. This northeast side has the most regular Sarsen stones, which were carefully shaped and smoothed. This would have made a spectacular impression upon those approaching the avenue, the processional route to the monument built about 2300 BC. This area where the avenue meets the earthwork enclosure was the focus of intense prehistoric activity, with various wooden posts and stones being erected, moved and removed over time. These restricted the movement of people into Stonehenge and may have been markers for astronomical events. The huge unworked sarsen standing nearby is the heelstone. It weighs about 40 tonnes. The fallen stone in front of you is the slaughter stone. Stonehenge was not the first monument in this landscape. The area had been important to Neolithic people for hundreds of years before building work started. Stretching across the landscape about 700 metres away is the Stonehenge Circus, built about 500 years before Stonehenge was started. Further away, and of a similar date, is the Robin Hood's Ball, which is on army land. It's an early Neolithic monument where people gathered to feast, exchange and conduct their rituals. Scattered throughout the landscape are the long burrows where they buried their dead.
Well, we're here today and we're having very interesting discussions in the Stonehenge cafes. So Stonehenge has become very, very commercial. Corin came here when he was in university, when it was just a little hippie mud mat trail to find it.
They first started building Stonehenge. It was just a ditch work about 3200 BC. And it was a number of phases, probably 5 or 6 phases, over 1,000 years. And the very last phase was moving the stones from, what is it called, Warren Mar Stone Circle in Pembrokeshire in Wales. And they uprooted the whole stone circle from there, brought it to Stonehenge and assembled Stonehenge as we know it today.
A bit like museums do today.
Yeah, and they assembled it again, and it was the very, very last megalith to be made before the Beaker people came over, and after that it all stopped. There's rumour, the archaeologists say that even the Beaker people may have even finished it off, we don't know. But if no other stone circles happened after that, then it's unlikely, right?
Do we know much about the Beaker people? I mean, they're not a puppet from.
They're a different lot. Yeah, not bigger. No, they're a different lot altogether. Yeah, they weren't megalith makers. We don't know. I don't know much about the Fiji people, to be honest, but they weren't megalith makers, and all the stone circles and megaliths stopped after that.
Were they conquerors, or was it just?
Well, I think they must have conquered the country because they stopped. They complete all that stone megalith making all stopped after that. So I think they just conquered the people that were here.
I know there's a new theory now that there's 50% conquering went on, which they call male-centered acquisition of land, and the other 50% is breeding, where natural attrition takes place. One race goes out just because the other one just moves in, and they start interbreeding. It becomes a third race then.
Well, in the Irish myth and legend stories, a similar story happens. Is that the Tuatha De Danann, who were a hyperhuman race, magicians and sorcerers, were the ones that built the megaliths in Ireland. And it wasn't until they kept on building them until the Celts came over and they started warring with the Tuatha De Danann.
Yeah, well, see, and that's a really interesting story, again, about genetic. What happens with genetic history. Because the Irish people have got like 80% DNA from India. And they've got the same god names like Tara and Tara, Dana and Dana.
And they've discovered inside Newgrange and some of the other megaliths over there that the bones that they have found, they found that they were like a pharaoh race, which were a completely different gene set than the indigenous population that was surrounding the area. So they were like a race that just arrived out of nowhere and built the megaliths, and they were said to be magicians and sorcerers or giants. But that's what people often say, he's a giant of a man, because he's very clever, he knows a lot of things, he does a lot of things. So, and they had a very separate the people, the conquerors, so we say the Tuatha De Danann, were very separate to themselves. They didn't mix the blood with the local people at all. And there was, in fact, so much so, there was a lot of interbreeding. Some of the bones have been shown to be like mother and son, and father and daughter, and brother and sister. They intermarried because they wanted to keep their blood.
There legends of the wars with the Fomorians as well.
There was a number of there was an indigenous population, and there was people coming in that were like the Vikings coming in, warring, and there was all sorts of battles going on. And the legend says that the Tuatha De Danann eventually lost, and they went into the Hollow Hills. My belief is that they transformed into the other world, which is what I write about in my books.
And I was speaking to Andrew the other day. We did an interview with Andrew, and he was looking at the early Phoenician history, with the early Phoenicians trading here, and the Phoenician heritage and everything that has come across that is evident in things like Stonehenge being based on basics like the Babylonian star systems and things like that. So,
So it ties up. I do believe there was a hyperhuman race around way back in time, beyond 6,000 years. That ties up with all the Younger Dryas thing, the end of Atlantis and all that sort of thing.
I think we're going to get to a place where we go human civilization phase 3.
Without doubt, we're at least a Mark II, and it could well have been another one. But before the last one, we don't know. There's a precious little trace of the last one, but there's like Graham Hancock said, there's the fingerprints of the gods. We've just got fingerprints of it, rather than the actual.
But we certainly do have a pre-existing advanced civilization there somewhere.
There's huge evidence for a pre-Diluvian civilization, which was highly advanced, and we're able to produce massive megaliths and move stones so big and meld them together, so there's virtually no room for a piece of paper to get between them.
That's right. Why don't we have evidence of these civilizations?
We have no ability to do that sort of technology now.
With the Younger Dryas, Have we ever been to a site where a meteorite's hit? There's not much then.
No.
It vaporizes stuff. It vaporizes stone. You know?
Yeah.
We want evidence of these civilizations.
And it's not just the meteor. I mean, it caused all sorts of seismic events. There was tsunamis washing over the land. There was volcano. It split the Earth crust where the three plates met. That moved about. The meteors melted the ice in North America, causing massive amounts of fresh water to go into the Pacific Atlantic Ocean, which completely changed the current. So it all melted and the sea levels rose. The sea levels rose 400 feet.
And what do you think of the idea that the Ice Age, that the glaciers actually were responsible for rolling these stones into the area, and that people going, wow, these are different. And as the glacier receded,
the stones, the weatheralls that are on the moors, where the stones come from, are Ice Age debris, without a doubt. They are moved. Massive big stones were moved with the glaciers and dumped onto the Melba Downs. We know that. It's a fact. But like you said, is it possible that the glaciers brought stones from the Orkneys down to this area? Maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe there's no mystery there at all.
Yeah.
It's possible.
Yeah, and I love I think of his name, but there's a gentleman who shows how easy it is to move these stones around with very basic technology, and how you can actually lift them by with using leverage and fulcrum points and things like that, and that one person can actually lift a 2 or 3 ton stone way high, and all you do is you leverage it. Oh, it's good. I'll have to send you that video. I'll put a link to that video.
See, the stones in Stonehenge are not that big, but the Avery stones, you've never moved the Avery stones around. They're massive.
Yeah, I should send you this video. And it does make people wake up to the fact that we are human, and humans are capable of doing this.
We're capable of a lot of things.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of technology that was available then that we don't know about, for sure.
And they've obviously got the mathematics,
They knew about mathematics, advanced mathematics, advanced trigonometry, advanced geometry, and advanced astrology and astronomy as well.
Even at the Caroline sites and places like that.
Yeah, they knew about cycles that lasted 26,000 years. Precession of the equinoxes, and they marked them. They're marked by cultures all over the place. Where these megaliths hang out, those cultures clearly knew about it because they're marking the alignments to the precession of the equinoxes. That's 26,000 years. So we're saying our culture's only 6,000 years old. How come they've managed to map out something that lasts 26,000 years? That doesn't make any sense. That's the heel stone there. There's an outlier stone called the heel stone, and that is the alignment from the summer solstice sunrise. So the summer solstice sunrise is on the horizon. There's one point. That heel stone is another point, and inside the stone circle there's another point. So 3 points line up at that particular event, that astronomical event of the summer solstice. I was just looking at the heel stone there of Stonehenge, and I was thinking it's bent at an angle like the gnomon on a sundial. And the pointy bit there, at the very top of the stone, it casts a shadow down here, so it's quite a sharp, pointed shadow where it lands just here. And that would give you the exact time. It's marked by a stone. It could have been, you know, it could well have been marble stones all the way around it in a circle. That's the shadow moves from that front side. Yeah, there's been a stone here. Well, the grass has grown over it, but it says S-T-O-N-E.
The heelstone may originally have been a natural sarsen boulder laying half buried in the ground. Its presence, together with some other natural geological features that may have been visible in this area, could have been the reason why people selected this site for Stonehenge.
The atmosphere in this area, because it's not very industrialised at all, this area, there's very few people live here. So the air is a lot cleaner, which is why that's growing.
Yeah, I know, it's kind of like it grows on one side of the stones, I believe. So
It grows on the wettest trees, which is usually the north.
yeah.
The sun doesn't shine on.
I remember somebody saying that one of the reasons they stopped people touching the stones was because, as you'll see, the lichen is above touch height. When people have touched the stones, the lichen has died.
Because it's taller than the archway. I wonder if it had like a T piece going through it. You could go back into it.
I'm just, like we did the,
Wondering that myself.
yeah, because the T is like the bull, Mithray and all that sort of
Well,
stuff.
it was obviously
The Tau.
very, very important to the Göbekli Tepe people.
Yeah.
And maybe that's because it's not, you know, it couldn't be, it's not in the outer
Yeah. That's correct.
and it's taller than all the others, so it must have been a standalone stone. And it's got the notch at the top, so it must have had a stone on it. It could only have been a T-shape.
Yeah. It is very much shaped like the Devil's Needles, but the Devil's Needles are very old and also incredibly eroded. But you mentioned about the relationship between this and Göbekli Tepe, and now that you've mentioned it, especially from this angle, I can't unsee it. You know, I can't unsee it now. So what's your feeling about
Well,
that?
the arch stones with the lintel across have little bumps in the top of the uprights, which fit into the lintels, so it doesn't move about. And if you look from this angle, you can see there's one stone much taller than all the others, and it could not, and it's got a nodule on the top, a very clear nodule on the top that it clearly linked to a stone cross piece. And because it's taller than all the other stones, it couldn't have linked with a lintel. It must have been like a cross piece, like a T-shape.
Yeah.
And it's the only way it could have been.
Yeah, exactly.
A T piece going across and a standalone T in the centre of Stonehenge. And that's what we have in Göbekli Tepe, lots of T-shapes.
Yeah, we certainly do. And now you've said it, I can't unsee it. And just tell me in the comments below if you can see that as well. You can see the same shapes from Göbekli Tepe.
If you have enjoyed this video, and you like the idea of making magic readily available to people in their lives for free, then perhaps you may consider supporting my work by a one-time donation or becoming a member of our Patreon community. But if you're even considering supporting us, you have my deepest and sincerest thanks. Every blessing to you.